This is Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the July 26th meeting of the LaPorte County Gypsy Moth Workshop. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Problem, I'm causing it.
Okay, we're going to get started. It's a few minutes after 4:30, and I know it's a beautiful night out there. We all want to get back and enjoy the evening. So this is a loosely organized group of citizens with a few people from the county to listen in and help guide, because you've brought forth an issue that is taking over our parts of our neighborhood in our county, and we want to be sure that we're doing everything that we can to prevent it. So I've contacted Phil Marshall. Some of you have already spoken with him on behalf of LaPorte County. He's the state guru on gypsy moth. He proudly told me that he's been working on gypsy moths for over 30 years. So he really does know a lot about it. And, you know, I've been reading as much as I can. It's clear that we're not alone. This is a Midwest. It's all over the Midwest. It's not going away. And so it's really important that we figure out the best way to combat it. So he shared a video link, and I think, do you have the video link that you can hook us to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're gonna, he wanted us to, just so that we're all sharing the same knowledge, he wanted us to view a video that the DNR prepared on kind of the whole gypsy moth infestation, their stages of development, et cetera. Some of you probably know as much as the video because you've been watching it on your own property. So we'll get started with that. It's about 13 and a half minutes, and then Phil should be joining us via Zoom to do a presentation and answer some questions. That sound good? Okay, thanks.
I lost it and I can get it for you in 10
Okay,
seconds.
thank you.
Sorry.
And if you haven't signed in, make sure before you leave, we want to be sure that we capture addresses in particular. Some of you have a lot of experience, and we probably need those boots on the ground. So should we introduce ourselves while we're waiting for the video? Bill, you want to start?
Sure, I'm Bill Nelson. I live at 4144 West Schultz Road here in LaPorte. I've lived there, well, I and my family have had this property for 42 years, and we've had gypsy moths for 2 years. So it's a relatively new phenomenon. It is dramatic at my property and changes the way I can use my property. So I'm very interested in being a part of this and working not just to educate, but work towards a solution so that we can try to eradicate this problem before it infests our entire county.
Right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Scott Keller. I live at 8807 North of 200 East, which is North Vale Road. Not quite to Heston Bar and Grill. My property is at the corner of North Vale and 900 North, and I have 60 acres up there. I've been fighting it now for 3 years, and last year was horrible. I spent I don't know how many hours fighting these things. I've killed them in so many different ways, but it's like, you know, it's like trying to spit on a forest fire when you have that many trees. Now, I did pay $4,000 to have my 50 acres, I think it sprayed 50 acres of my property, and it was about $4,000. It seemed to make a big difference with the amount of the caterpillars that survived, and then the number of moths that I had this year was, I'm not gonna say it's non-existent, but it was greatly reduced. So my ag messes are going to be a lot less too. So that, I don't know, and I do believe that I had the virus in the ground because last year I did notice that a lot of the caterpillars were dying on the tree. So I don't know if it's a combination of the virus taking over and the spraying, or was it the spraying? Not sure, but at least I seem to get ahead of it a little this year. But I'm just scared to death because if I take care of my property but other people don't spray, they're just going to come back.
Okay.
My name is Monica Ginther. I live at 4201 West Schultz Road, across the street from Bill. I just don't want to go through another summer like this. We haven't been out. You don't want to be out. You feel dirty, crawly. It's terrible. I hope that we find a solution to this. I've got 2 big boulders at the end of my driveway, this big around, and they're full of eggs. So you know they're up in the trees if they're on the boulders. The trees are loaded. There's no way that we can ourselves spray anything because we can't reach the treetops. They're defoliated, you can see through the leaves in the top of the trees, the sky, birds, everything. The leaves are just gone. It's terrible.
Randy Beach, 4177 West Schultz Road. Neighbors of these two know him, and I believe for you, with how much you've had to spend on it, I truly hope I don't have to. $4
I
grand
would,
is a lot of
I
money.
would,
It is a lot
I
of
would
money.
spend that.
Well, yeah, I would
if
spend
that
it.
would solve our
Yeah.
problem.
I'm just making sure that this gentleman that's supposed to join us got the Zoom link.
Diane and Kevin Warnke. We live on 600 West, and you all know us, and we're glad to be here. We're glad we have a team together, and I just feel like this is a positive move for our county. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm with her.
I'm Jeremy Smith. I live out in Mill Creek. Not seen a whole lot of them out there that way, but
They're coming to a neighborhood near you.
well,
Yeah.
I'm into bees and pollinators, so that's where I guess how I got roped into this, and I tend to like to complain a little bit too. So I guess if you complain, you gotta
You'll be prepared.
step up and do something about it.
Thank you.
Joe Haney, County Commissioner, and I also live just right off of West Joliet, Door Village. We haven't had any the smudgy or gypsy moth problems there yet, but as it continues to drop further south, it's headed, it's obviously headed our way. So.
I'm Michael Herman. I work with the County Soil and Water Conservation District, and we are one of the players that help communicate solutions, but also problems relating to natural resources in the county to county residents. So I hope that we can help facilitate the conversation, not just among us, but among the rest of the county.
Sure. Thank you. Well said. I'm Sheila Matias, President of the County Commission, and I appreciate all of you bringing this to the forefront so that we can talk about it as a community, because you were right. If it's in your neighborhood, it's not long before it continues. It's spread. So, Phil, you're on the line with us, I see. I think you're on mute, maybe.
Still muted.
Well, while
Recording in progress.
Okay, while Phil gets his mute button figured out, let's start watching the video. So if you could.
There he is.
Hi there, Phil.
That's Sheila?
Yep, I'm Sheila. I'm your phone buddy.
Okay.
All right, we're going to watch the short video.
Before you, here, let me give an introduction to what this is. This is it's basically a recorded PowerPoint that we present at our public meetings for our Slow the Spread projects. It'll give you the biology and the methods we use, background information on gypsy moth. I still call it gypsy moth after all these years. It's the spongy moth. Next year I got to call it spongy moth. But around on that, how we go about doing Slow the Spread treatments that are in the field. So I'll let you begin with it then, please.
Thanks, Phil. All right, we're ready to roll.
I'm going to have to mute this microphone first, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a good video. This is a good video.
Purdue University and Purdue Extension. This presentation will introduce you to gypsy moth, talk about its life stages, and outline what makes it such a destructive forest pest. Then we will discuss how we survey for this insect and what options we have to manage their populations when we find them. So what is gypsy moth? European gypsy moth, scientific name Lymantria dispar, is an insect in the Lepidoptera order, that is, the moths and butterflies. It is originally from Europe and was accidentally introduced near Boston in the late 1860s. By 1890, gypsy moth was causing widespread defoliation in that area and has gone on to become one of North America's most devastating forest pests. Today, gypsy moth can be found across the north.
So a couple questions for you. You said last year was terrible. This year wasn't as bad.
It started out there. They had the spring, 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 before they get to be. They're all this big. It started to what happens, the spring goes in kills. It kills the caterpillars, doesn't kill the
Okay.
just
Yeah, can you unmute him so he can talk to us?
so.
You can hear him.
Okay. Phil?
Yes, I hear you. There's no sound coming through.
Okay, we can hear you, so can you hear us now?
He
Yes, I can hear you.
He couldn't hear the sound of the video.
Oh, I see. So we're having a little problem with the video. Perhaps you can go, we can jump past that and continue on with the agenda and just kind of talk to us a little bit, give us some information, and then we'll get back to the video when we are able to figure it out.
The other thing to do, if you can, then I may be able to run it through my side. If it's all right, I'm going to go ahead and share my perk a little bit. But I could possibly, I think I have up my, where I can try to pull the computer and share my screen and sound come through, and I'm not sure that if you can't get it to produce any sound. But I'll turn on and share my screen.
Okay,
And
we'll try that. Usually it uses up too much bandwidth, it doesn't work on Zoom.
okay, I can't do that while letting that video there.
Okay,
It's got to be, they're probably their screen to run the video. While you're working with a static picture for everybody there, that shows you in the dark blue areas, those are the quarantine counties. That's a low agent, it's not quite all of them that are on quarantine. The lighter green stuff on the edge is non-quarantine counties. And then we've got chronic, and these have all under quarantine, both federally and state, meaning time you move anything outside of that county to any place else, it has to be free in two launch stages. That's UV, larvae, caterpillars, and everything coming out of that area. More important for when you do a household move or have your boat trailer parked and you begin to move it out into the lake region. Your trailer, your RV, life stage potentially in that area or any other area. That's what that map is for. And this is the generally infested areas. We refer to it, all this is all generally infested here. And it provides, and its population is up in this area of the country. I'm not sure if it, here I haven't been able to talk to Michigan. It has been up, but I hope it's going down there. Wisconsin said they have more defoliation this year than in the past. So, yeah.
do you want to try the video
Go
again?
ahead and stop, share, stop.
You're fading in and out from our sound, so we're going to see if we can get the video to work here. Just one moment. Technology is great when it works.
It's hard in
You
these
don't have
buildings,
Surveyor here
too.
yet? You don't have fiber optic here yet?
Not the kind that we need, clearly.
It works great.
Yeah.
Well, if he's at a state office.
Yeah, he's calling from southern Indiana. He's out in the field somewhere.
He can't even, from the state parks, you can't even.
Well, that's where
get
he
in.
actually is.
Yeah,
and,
it's really
yeah,
hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's at a conference at one of the state parks in the south.
I don't know what's going on.
Okay, we're gonna have to skip the video and ask,
It's not showing, but it just shows the southern part of it's supposed to scroll the number of male moths caught in our traps in 2021. And I just realized if that one is correct in Davies County, the first time we've ever caught a moth in the county.
well, from what everyone's saying, there's lots to catch in LaPorte County. You can just come on here and meet your quota.
I know, this map basically, I don't know why it's tires. One of those where it activates and scroll.
So
Did somebody automate that?
are there traps out in the county to where we know
Yeah.
what kind of distribution there is?
So we're gonna stop the video altogether because we want to be sure that we capture your knowledge, and we'll refer that to everyone to read. So maybe we'll just cancel the video for now and focus on your knowledge. There was a question, whether there are traps in the county and what you can tell us about our county from your experience.
That's what I've got set to show you a little bit, so, and I'm gonna stop your screen, whoever's doing that. Let me know when you've done that.
Can you see our video?
Video is up.
I think he had it on
I have
his.
a button where I can share my screen, but I haven't touched it yet because when I did it, if I have to make me a co-host, ride the screen, thanks. Reversed in it, I have another, that's got it, okay, now I can. Let's see, okay, now we're good. I'm meeting some people.
I'm confused.
No. I'll not ignore that one. Let's see.
What I'm interested is if he
All right,
did
can you
his
see
flyover
a
on what
screen
he
that shows
found.
a
Yeah.
map? Do you see a map of part of the eastern side of the
Yeah,
United
this is
States?
good.
Yep, that's great. We can see it.
Let me, all right, this zones that you see in here are referred to slow the spread. The yellow paint there, the slow the spread areas are all what we call funded survey areas, not part of the slow the spread. In between the two lines refer to the action zone, that 100 kilometers wide. The action zone into different areas, these traps at different spacing. This is 3-kilometer grid, this is 2-kilometer grid. This one, because there's no trees in this area, I put 5-kilometer grid there. These we refer to as monitor. This is monitor 1, where we trapped 5 kilometers apart. This is 2 kilometers apart. We put a little bit in with Michigan because we need a back bit of information to analyze the data to see how the moth is spreading and where it is. And you can go to this site, spread, all one word, lowercase, slowthespread.org, and you can get on to this lot of data stuff. There's some aspects by password protected, but for the most part, what I'm showing you here is password protected. You can look at it and just show you I've got some additional data popping up here. The circles are positive track this year showing counts. Then the other things are in there that are what we call potential coupled areas from, okay. And the one feature about this, you can go up here and change service terminal on and off. So you don't have to see everything. But that's where we work. We will treat in this area of the state, we will treat the action area, but we do not treat up here, because this is one areas, and what if we did not help meet the goal of this anymore, because it's working up there, there's too much anymore. This area, usually it's a small area, it's just starting to populate, and we go in and treat it, cut it out. And we've done that several times.
They just don't
over
want to
time.
get it any further. They have them in
Next one I'm going to show you, this is where we're surveying this year. This is Fort County, and here's the county line, roughly down through here. We have two grids. This is all 5 kilometers. Post-treatment, the limit for Kingsbury, we always monitor our treatments after we've done that. And then this is what we call the 2 kilometer grid in the action. And this of the action zone. That's a guide to determine where gypsy moth is spreading action to slow inhibition. This area down in here is another area that's developing a population, and you may not see it, but that we do a delimit there to determine if the population is growing. That's to decide if we need to any treatments in 23. There's even a small one right, so, but that's where it is. This area right here is from 2021. These dots, this is its road. This is up here in Fall, Range Road, in 600 North. These are the foliated areas that I mapped. And I'll show you some more, but to zoom out a little bit, you see this is where there is over 10,000 traps in Indiana. Up in this area, we use the large mill trap. These areas we use the delta traps, which are triangular shape. And for capacity, we don't need a capacity trap. Milk carton trap has pheromone in it and has a kill strip in it, no pest strip. Then the delta trap, all they have is pheromone string in there and 2 sides, no insecticide at all in those traps. So I hire a lot of people to set these traps around the state. This area is 8 kilometers. Let me show you the next one. Just a little bit of background, what we've done in LaPorte County over the years. I know the gentleman said 42 years, and I said that at a meeting. We found gypsy moth, first male moth in 1981 in LaPorte County. These areas up here, these areas in blue, we have sprayed for gypsy moth in these. But here in Porter County and along these, then this is, I turn it on, it'll give me the information, the background. This means this is where we were putting the pheromone, and we put it out how many grams of product. This one is done in, make sure, 2002 was when we did that. And I think some of, I go back farther, here's a small area we treated. That was treated in 2005. This area right here is we treated the LaPorte. We treated this in 2016, and so slowing things down, and from the lines have moved down farther on us. In action, to slow everything down in this area as well as other areas. Now, what we get into from data to help is these are lawful, and there's a thing in there called decision support, and I can change the year in here and go to 21. This is the one moth line. The bottom one means there's one moth at every track out of that line. This is 3 moth average here, 10 moth average. This is 30 moth, and there's 100 more, on either side of that line, mostly north. And those lines keep changing every year. They're not static. They go forward, backward. Here's what it was in 20. Here's what it was in 18 after the 9th survey. Here's what it was in 18, back out again. So this is, it keeps in here, and what bosses never is for some reason the 21 years of road. That's not correct. I don't know why, flat wall, but they must be something with the STS database. This line right here is the 10 moth line. When it progresses more than half the county, we put the county under quarantine, propose it to be quarantined. The thing is proposed, still through, to go through state system to put it actually in the quarantine language. The only thing, we're also in quarantine, Lake County, even though the moth line is not there because this is quarantined, this is quarantined. So going back and forth across there is confusing everybody. So we want to consolidate the line with Illinois quarantine. So, I should stop asking. Any questions? I hope you people hear me okay.
Phil, you're breaking up a little bit, but this is Diane Warnke, but I will tell you, have you got a moth count for LaPorte County yet?
No, we don't have until the early September. We are monitoring moth flight at this time. And once we do that, I will employ how and when to take their traps down and give us a count. So each day when we record, tenders record their data every day into the number will be changing. You can go see that as a number. I would go back over one of them. Yeah, because we haven't monitored any of the traps in LaPorte County, so there won't be any moth counts per se in that area. And then there's nothing in that area. So it will be a number shown live if there's a count there. See the trap tenders up here in Michigan, you can see people have been in their 22 moths here, but we haven't looked at these traps. Check every trap because it's just not good for time and effort there.
Well, they're probably pretty full because I caught that one day 555 in 24 hours.
So I would catch as many. Thank you. Yeah, just to give you an idea, we can zoom in a little bit. You can go in and zoom in on these things and see where you all are. Because it's right up in your road. So we don't have any traps immediate to that area. They're here and they're up here.
Okay.
And
Do you
can use
Feel
that.
free to jump in. Ask questions.
I'm going to ask about. Do you also have the results from the flyover that you guys did? You were going to fly over and see what things look like in the county.
Yes, I've got to switch over to another screen and show that here. See, I pulled this up so I can have the road layers for myself to understand what it is. Okay, I'm gonna about stop me. I want to stop this screen and I got to share another screen. This is coming up. It'll be an aerial photograph. It's in color. It shows the dark areas or trees or water. It's not the best detail. This is Google Earth that I transferred my aerial survey data to it because I haven't had all the data analyzed GIS yet. Yellow areas there. I'll zoom in a bit. Can you see this area that's yellow?
Yes.
Yes.
This is up here, Vale Road, all this stuff up here. This line right through here, South Shore, to give you another reference, that's the South Shore. Key Lakes right in here, they're up in here somewhere. And then this is Schultz Road. This, all the states that I mapped from was a small area down here from last year, not this year. This is last year's data. So it did not look as bad in this area. It's still there as compared to what I saw in one. Let me go ahead and see the house. I got to turn on. I'll turn. native from this year. Okay, I'm gonna leave the yellow up for right now, zoom in. Polygons are areas, this is defoliation. Some of this down in here, I've got to ground check to verify, and I'm pretty sure that it's defoliation. Ground check to verify, this should go, this will be pretty much, this is 421 right here. And there's some in here that I've got to look at. Just another background, stuff down in here, I'm not for sure gypsy moth because it's what I see from the air. I call it discolored foliage. This is gypsy moth in here. I know that. I've been to these. This is 49 going into the Dune State Park. Give you a reference there. If you want to drive over there, you don't need to go. You already see the default. That is heavily defoliated. I mean, they strip the tree. The leaves are coming back on the trees now, but the June, and I'll zoom a bit more so you can see I'm still showing some through this area here, and I'm going to go really compare if I miss putting anything down. There's some stuff here. These are rough polygons, but I have up through here. We'll go back out and look at this based on what I see. This is foliation. Now that does mean, it only means that I pour any area that has greater than 30% of surface area removed from the caterpillars. If it's less than that, you still could have caterpillars chewing around, but I'm not necessarily pick that up from the air. I fly on this 1,000 feet above the trees and digitize it. So there's stuff in there that you may know of that has gypsy moth, but it needs to detect a survey. And I tried to do this so that it didn't turn on the moth line, the flight lines in here, but I fly west and then I'm a mile north and I fly back to the west again and then fly eastbound. I was flying it just won't do this time. And that's how I map everything out. Now there's other defoliation. We're on the eastern side of the state, but nothing like this. And up the area called the kind of the worst stuff in here around this lake, that seemed to be pretty heavy. And of course the stuff over there at Porter. The rest of this area, you know, pretty good, but they're heavy and moderate. Some of these are called these moderate defoliation. That means it was anywhere from 30 to 70%. The heavy areas are greater than 70% of the surface area has been removed. So there's more than there was last year, although I probably didn't do as comparison to 21. I did survey this area last year, did look up this area, did look down here. So I knew to look here at some of the reports and how I wanted to make sure I bracketed everything. Now, the other thing I found, and Kelly has also found it, when we were looking for when moths began to fly, I found over here in Porter County, by the pupal stage of the gypsy moth, they were much smaller in size than they were last year. And she proved the same thing, some of the areas in LaPorte County that she looked at, smaller. So that means population is weaker and growth is stronger. Also, the other thing, I wasn't able, maybe not there at the right time, I could not find doors crawling down the tree dying from the virus, but I only looked at a couple fungus. So what right now is likely, we still will foliation next year, but we should be coming on the downside of the population. Because again, it stays up for 2 or 3 years, and then it begins to go down. It'll disappear, come back a few years for a small blurb. And again, States, it's been 7 to 10 years between epidemic. And I think that's the way Michigan has, this would have been the 3rd year in a row in Michigan. I find they still have a lot of elevation. They'll usually close out because of the parasites and predators and everything that'll, and the fungus and the virus on there.
Any questions?
Hey, Phil, this is Scott Keller. I own 60 acres on North Vale Road, which is a couple miles north of that South Shore line, and obviously below the state line. And I've been fighting it now for 3 years. I did notice last year that a fair number of the caterpillars were dying on the tree, getting that hook pattern. So I'm assuming that I have the virus in the ground at my property somewhat, but I can't tell you how many thousands and thousands of these things that were on my property. I did spray this spring, had a crop duster spray my property, cost quite a bit of money. It did seem to make a big difference this year as far as the number of moths that I actually had, but I'm just concerned that if everyone else around me doesn't spray, they're just going to come back.
Yeah, if there's immediate to you, the next neighbor, and they didn't treat that, and there was gypsy moth in there, yes, you come back into your area. This is the only area up here that I've been bullied. This would be leave up through here. And then maybe that might help you to see where it is. So there's something there.
Yeah, I'm on Vale Road, and then the corner of 900 North is my property.
Oh, okay, that's 900, I think 900's here, isn't it, somewhere? Here, let me check mine.
It'd be north of the South Shore line.
Yeah, it is, it'd be way up there. Yeah,
It's way up there.
Line.
It's really bad up my way.
Now, what did you say apply?
It was Agriflite out of Wakarusa, I believe. They said whatever it was is that it would go on the leaves. I had to do it at a certain time frame when the caterpillars were about 1 inch long, and that they would eat the leaves, and then after eating the leaves, it would start killing the caterpillars. And that's
They probably were using what we refer to as BTK.
that sounds right.
BTK is a bacteria. That is that'll kill, that particular kills leopard caterpillars. And we use that, and I got a feeling you got in the acres you got, he was probably, that's about the same price, but more. We were brain dead right now. It's somewhere around $80 an acre.
That's about right. That's about what I paid.
Yeah. And if that, he was probably using at a high rate. Now, TK, we treat down development of the population. We had what's called 24, 25 CLU per units. That's the unit. The crystalline of the back to them will keep out of the amount. And when we get, that's good for low populations working there. But when you've got foliation now, then you can move it up to the highest rate. This year we did treat Kingsbury, most State Park over on the other side of the lakes. Treated the highest rate, 38 use per acre instead of 2. I was trying to learn with that, plus I needed to keep in and out of the state park because they shut the park down and couldn't let him camp there for a period of time. Just because we couldn't spread the state weather weather dictates when we can spray. And so I went to one application, it seems pretty good. I've got an H. Rousseau over there that has some trees that were foliated in there more than long still for the overall park. It knocked everything down. I just again. But the other good thing there was an area of the state park, eligible end of the park, who knew about gypsum moth living in the east, told me where stuff was, and thought I ought to treat it. I said, no, I'm not going to treat that area. I will use it as a check, and I did treat it. I looked at it this year, there's no defoliation there. There was cattle there that could probably have developed. So, the other, generally, from what I've seen till this year, whenever we've had an area defoliate, the next year it disappeared. And we had stuff in 2018 up in South Bend, homeowners with huge white oaks, and the first part of the subdivision area, they stripped the trees, and they didn't even touch the trees. And the next year we went back and off there. It totally went away. I was surprised at that. And I've done that once or twice elsewhere. Again, that could have been because of very immature population over a large area. Just didn't have enough area to grow. Unfortunately, you've got to continue where gypsum moth can grow and expand. And the higher percentage of oak, the more likely you're going to maintain a gypsum. They like gypsum spurs. There's other trees that they like also. Maples, the hickory, that's on their list. That's for everything else. But as long as you've got the oaks, and of the oaks, the more white oaks you have, the more likely you're going to have problems because they like white oak better than the two groups of the main oaks we have. So that, you know, for management this coming year here, probably, you know, by Labor Day or shortly after, we'll have the moth counts out of that area. And Diane, I know you know, but when we go, probably about mid-August, I'll start pulling all the traps. And we pull, it'll take us 2 or 3 days to get them all out of there. But each day, following day, that data is active on the site. You can do what
Okay.
it'll be there.
All right.
Yeah,
Great.
You can go up on the, when you go on this, look for under, and
That
the
gives you
data,
good
then go to
data
map.
to buy in, because it's a number.
Go back, I know it's easier to do than that, if I can just, I'll bring up, a new, like, show you where it is.
Phil, can you, there's a couple things that I wanted to ask you about. Is it possible you could send one of us the different levels of BTU, the spraying? You were talking about you need so much if it's a mild, so much if it's a moderate, because, and also people who do this in this area.
Yeah, anybody in the landowners, if they're treating themselves, they need to treat the highest rate possible. They've had to.
Okay.
And Phil, do you know, sorry, do you know, are there any local companies doing drone spraying for people who have smaller properties where a crop duster really won't work? Anyone with, and I know they do spray pesticides with drones. Are you familiar with anyone in the northern part of the state that does that, especially for gypsy moths?
Right, I've not heard of any, and they're still coming online because we're even in the DNR, right, in our division, we're looking at getting a drone set up to treat with herbicides for our tree plantings, so we can do Mr. Paul, that's what we're talking about. I'm not aware of anybody. The other thing that you can do for all homeowners with small areas, you can inject the tree with insecticide. And that your specimen trees that are around your house, fence or whatever, you don't, it can get costly if you start treating all these. But if you treat the trees that are important to your house, basically any tree that's going to promise is and provide shade. And the other thing is, you treat your trees, your neighbors similar levels, they don't treat, just move back over on your, because you'll have the insecticide in the foliage.
Well, Phil, this is
Do
Bill.
that treatment.
Phil, this is Bill Nelson. I did that. I have 2.5 acres, primarily wooded, but it is a small parcel of a large forest in my area. I only have 2.5 acres. I treated 3 trees this year, 2 oaks and 1 maple. And the reason I treated those 3 trees was because they hang over my hard surfaces. They hang over decks with eating areas, seating areas, my driveway, staircases. Because I'm trying to, I was trying to eliminate or reduce the amount of the feces that would fall in those areas for many reasons. It was about $200 a tree. They did a boring, and then they injected the BTK down in through the borings to come up through the roots. And Phil, I saw little to no impact. In fact, the tree service came out to inspect and was shocked at how little impact it had. But I think what you said is probably accurate. As you told Mr. Keller here, if his neighbors don't spray like he sprayed, they're going to come back. I treated 3 trees, but there's so many trees around there that I think that even if I was killing caterpillars, other caterpillars from other trees just came over and they did their damage before they died. So I think that, you know, the problem we're having is we're doing these isolated treatments. You know, Scott did his at a much greater extent than I did, but we're not getting results like we need. So to the extent that your program and the state does not identify our areas as subject to treating, other than homeowners going bankrupt to try to treat the massive areas we need to treat, how do we as a county deal with our problem? Because what I saw early was the green area is the slow the spread, and that's where the focus is. Well, we're past that, Phil. We're not looking to slow anymore. We're looking to get our lives back. We're looking to not lose trees to successive years of defoliation that will eventually kill them. I'm hearing you say that some of these areas, after a few years of mass infestation, didn't have it anymore. I just finished my 2nd year of this, and all of these trees in my I can look up and I can see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of egg masses up in my trees, sometimes clustered in 100 egg masses clusters. So I'm going to have a massive amount of caterpillars next late May and June. What do we do? The program you have is amazing. The history of it is incredible. What you're trying to do is great. What does a county like LaPorte do? What do we do when we're past your slow the spread phase and we're looking to eradicate massive populations to get our lives back?
A couple things in here before I totally answer that for you.
That only lasted 30
One,
days.
they cannot put ET in it at the top of the tree. It won't do that. It won't move. That must have been another they were using to put it up in the tree, because that's probably it had food on and consumed thoroughly by the caterpillars. And so that material will not move in the vascular system of the tree. So that's one potential there. The large number of masses that you see now are not necessarily masses. They could be last year's egg masses with new egg masses there. The newer egg masses is whiter. The older masses are look duller in color, more tan and bleached down versus a strong tan ahead line. Well, let me turn off the shading and see if you see.
Well, Phil, the egg masses I'm referring to, I know are this year's because daily I would watch from the ground, even with binoculars, and I could see the moth laying the trail. The moths were still there. A lot of them have now died and fallen to the ground. Right. But I watched the egg masses I'm talking about. I watched them be laid this year from the ground each day.
And multicolored. I watched multicolored. Right now, I thought he just said that different colors were different years.
Yeah.
And I think the moths are still hatching too, Phil. I've noticed that we are still getting newer moths.
We are too.
And so there's,
They should be finishing up.
I seen a 2-inch long
Usually the
caterpillar
latter,
the other day.
usually by the 8th,
All over yet.
10th of August, male moth flight is pretty much over with.
Yep.
Yeah.
With me.
They stay in a pupal state, they stay caterpillars for 2 weeks. 2-week pupal states last over a month's time. They all don't go into that, they don't hatch at the same time, they don't change the pupae at the same time. Yes, but hopefully they'll be going down, time on in there, because the guy reported to me, my staff said, one area was still, the moth count was still coming up. And another area said it didn't go down, but we've had situations where it'll drop and then come back up. But you're right, I think it'll go, well, let's see, this year we're running 10 to 14 days. So it could go to the middle of August before we get into total moth flight. There might be still some fluttering around until the middle of August with that. Now, for a program for you all to manage, this is what we've tried in the past over at Fort Wayne. So subdivision, and they had a homeowners association. So transferring that up to you as a level group, somebody there in the county to be a coordinator and organize to efforts to applicator to treat and certain the kill colors so that you don't have the defoliation. Now, curious, most of the states when we do that, you don't do the 2.5 acres by airplane. It can't, it's too difficult. You're going to be able to make areas up and 20 acres inside the treatment area, and then the tree. If you have to throw it, everybody wants in, you can group them. You have to prioritize mentors based on the host. That first area you want to work on versus maidens or some of the other species there to feed on because the oaks are more likely to get defoliated. Then the other thing you would do is the other states have done, and that's what I sent to, you run surveys to count masses, to estimate the egg masses. So from those, they use about an acre long. That's a foot radius circle. You stand in there, and every egg mass you can see within any tree or structure within that circle there. And you're going to want to be in a rural area, I mean into the urban areas where if it's 500 for that would probably be qualified to be in your treatment program or group together. Rural areas, again, you look at what the forest habitat is and everything, and you'll probably want to prioritize that to be an egg mass or more. But that's very important to get. But having a county coordinator like that, get everybody together, you'll probably legalities taken care of because what you'll have to do once done in the end is they have an application form, fill that all out, and when they get ready to do that, they get a contract and all the landowners pay their front and everything. So you get it all, you know what you've got. Then I know you can, in mind that you'll probably have we have aerial applicators, not only AgriFlight up there, but there's other ones around. So if you need to bid it out where you need more than just one bidder, be competitive, that's possibly get those to you. But then you can, what the coordinator would be doing is working with the landowners, getting all information out, holding information meetings, public meetings with them. You're going to have to put up, they will not want the treat, and that will be an issue. If you pick out an area and and they're included in it, don't want to be treatment, they may knock the whole area because you can't exclude them. They may be small exclusions. A lot of time, work with everybody, planes going on that you'll be using. We use BT, and that's probably what you're going to use in there. It's a safe inside, and it will getting everybody to getting it organized and in agreement, and then you get them up, the planes up in the air. Now, what we've done, we do ours, define the area, we put a 300-foot buffer around, and that 300-foot buffer let everybody know that the treatment's going to go on, but there is not an area, but it's needed because the plane fly over that area. And AgriFlight, like you do, and probably what you've got for your treatment, Scott, up there, they'll give you a printout of where loop and when their boots were on. And for you. Now, and we come from on projects and everything. We put state employees in the sites to watch them. And mainly, we do that because if the winds are getting them all, then we start to get started and want to shut the treatment down for that time because it'll start to move all hard. And then the other thing if the better, and you can see it coming out of the plane, it's a uniform pattern. And in case they're just walls and it's not acting quite right, let them know and we'll get that adjusted.
Phil, are you telling us that somebody in Fort Wayne has done this already, this type of thing where they've set up a program with a coordinator?
Yeah, it was a homeowner subdivision.
So just one subdivision is what you're saying? It wasn't like a county program?
No, this was just local people themselves, individual landowners have an association. Their dues would be in that subdivision in Oakwood subdivision. I do. And then there's a subdivision across the road from them. They've organized and they've done it. And so they go ahead and contract with an applicant and they put the boundaries. The good thing now, systems and everything, geometries on there, where you want treatment, that goes in the airplane, and they know where to treat and where not to treat. That's the good feature. But they've done it over there. We did that the last 2 years over there. They treat on their own, and that's what I'm encouraging everybody to do is to try to get them involved and do that themselves. And then they might want that somebody level, the coordinator, help organize that effort together. And of course, in doing that, Mom and do any guidance and training. And I was thinking, gee, even though this is a little different, do distance in a short time frame, and to get the treatments the traps all out at the end. We can come up and do this where I'm dead face to face instead of talking through the computer screen.
That would be good.
And work a little bit more with you. I gave Sheila a timeline there, because it's based on what we do too, is that in September, with getting all the earth fabric for the traps down in the latter part of September, verify all our walls, double check everything. And the system is running all the time. And it's telling us where there could be areas of problems. And then that, in about mid-October, latter of October, with Forest Service and our staff, we review all of those sites. And the algorithm said there's something that you need to look at a little more in depth to make decisions. We're going to an area with it's going to resurvey. In some cases, we just put it back on the serve, and that's in October. And then we begin to draw on our maps where we want to place our treatment point to do that, and get those outlined. We need that depth and then we calculate the area involved so we can prepare bid out to get our contract placed. Plus, also get that information up so that we run usually latter part of January, first part of February, and we get those out and it's what's going on and have time to comment about. Occasionally, we have people there. You find a lot of times those on the edge of where and it's marginal, we can go ahead and exclude those. But for the most part, if they're in the middle of the area, we really work with them to state, we need to do this, and area. Like I mentioned, I think somebody was talking about pollinators are worried about those. The BT product and the mating disruptor does not hurt
Did he say does not?
BT, we apply it well before monarch butterfly caterpillars are out, and the mating disruption pheromone is specific to gypsy moth. It doesn't bother any. And we always look for any in a state threatened, danger, anything else in there that might be something. And when we have treatment sites, if there's schools in there, they're automatically excluded. We draw them out. We don't have them in there. Tell the pilot, we can't treat there. And because we do our treatments early in the school time, and we know there's buses through that area, we find out when the buses are going to go through the area. And don't, if we're treating the area, we stop service until we get the buses cleared out of the area. If anything coming down, well, there's students way out in there. And it's worked fairly well in recent minutes in many others we've had in the past. We do a lot of stuff on.
I have a couple of questions to
ask
you.
That was always a challenge because
He's
of
got
the
a lot
moment
with it.
Yeah, he is.
we had to deal with. We tri-state. So I think that's trying.
So Phil,
All of that is what you have to look at. I would estimate right now, you want to look at just ballpark for every acre, start $80 an acre.
So Phil, this is Sheila. I have a couple questions, and then there's a citizen here that has a couple questions. So we have a choice of letting people take care of it themselves, or as a community deciding that this is something we want to invest in. Is there state money?
No, I don't have any money for this. No. If our money treatment comes in through the soil spread, get our funding in. The good thing about it, we only need the money from each that we've got. And the Forest Service pays for the main disruption because they own main disruption product.
Okay, there's a couple questions too. We have actually a couple of them. Kevin, ask your question.
So currently, if we can reach the egg masses, is there, I've heard scraping them and such, drowning them. Is there any chemicals? Somebody told me safflower oil and water to spray them with. The ones we can reach, can we kill them off ourselves in the meantime?
Yeah, anytime after you see egg masses, there's a product that's labeled for them. It's called Golden Sun Oil. That's it's a sleeping oil, but it's a registered pesticide. It will it's measured in Indiana to be used as an insecticide. You spray that on, when you're going to do it in your yard, don't make up a large quantity. Make up you don't want to use it all up at one time, or else it'll kind of get coagulated if you don't finish using it all up. But it can be used anytime from now. Once the egg is laid, you can spray that all the way through until next spring.
Okay, thanks.
Is there a better time to spray it?
No, it really isn't. I would not when it's down below zero and freezing cold or anything. But when your temperatures up or in the 60s, that would be in the fall. You can do that in the spring. Unless we have a really early year, it's rare.
The aerial spraying us.
About years. Bill, Normal Lake Cancer hearing is the 23rd of April.
Do you have somebody answering?
Bill, may I ask a question?
No.
Yeah.
We could.
My name's Walt Pearson.
Because I'd be.
I'm not on the task force, but I'm one of the victims. I have three-part questions, real simple. I did some research on the web, and one of the spots I hit on mentioned something of a 3-year cycle for these, and then it's gone. Is that true? 3-year cycle and then gone.
But gone, they're still there. Remember, when you say
Cicada.
vacation, your definition of that is forever, amen. Never see it again, forever. That's the month is in your life from now on in that area. It's there. You can't get rid of it. You can manage it down to an acceptable level, but you're never going to get rid of gypsy.
They do not migrate away.
No, just go down to extremely low levels. They may migrate off your property, the neighbor's property, but down to extremely low levels, then come back. They run on cycle. It's a 7 to 10 year cycle. We go to a short window of time that we call the epidemic window. And after that, it'll be 7-10 years before they repeat the epidemic window again. Generally, you'll see years before it first starts. It's there. You may not realize it. Then the first year, boom, it hits you a bit. Next year, it's quite a bit, generally, but sometimes it'll go the second year. But then by the third year, it's still there, but it decreases. Then the fourth year, you don't see it. I mean, it's still there, but it's down to where you can.
Okay, my last question. Can you? There are numerous websites that cover this subject from a layman's perspective, like myself. Can you recommend a couple, 2 or 3 maybe, to narrow it down? What we can get educated on, those of us who are interested in the war?
Start with the flow that spreads. We've got, there's the background information there. Even though we couldn't get the video to work, you can go on entomology. That's on, just get on dnr.in.gov, DNR site, Department of Natural Resources, and get into the Division of Entomology, and you'll see the word gypsy moth there. Click on that and go to the treatment curve. You'll see that little wording there. Now, I think my screen, I can turn it back on. Let me show you where that is. Because I brought it up. And I'll back out of this so you get an idea of where it is a little bit. Okay, we're going to start here. I just have it as a favorite here. I just started the site. We'll go to.
Well, if I have everyone's email addresses, maybe he can send those to me and then I can circulate
That would
them.
be good.
Well, if I don't have an email address for you, I think everyone else put their email address. So Phil, perhaps you can send me all of the links. This is Sheila, and then I will circulate that to the group of people who make sure I have their email addresses, and they can share it out among the community.
You've got the links, because when I saw one with this one, he pulled it up. That link is there. We go to the.
It's just called
well,
Flow
you
the
know,
Spread. Yeah.
Divisions. Here we go. Entomology and plant pathology, you're there. There's gypsy moth. Later on, that'll be punch moth. It takes a while for us to get this changed on our web. Go to that one. P22, Indiana Gypsy Moth Treatment Program. This is open in 22. Touch on that, and unfortunately, you got to scroll down.
All right, Phil, I have one more question. You were mentioning that you're coming to LaPorte County in mid-August, and we're hoping that you could come and meet with us again in person, because it would be a lot easier to understand you, and by then we'll have some more questions. Is there a date specific for your visit?
No, it'd probably be the latter week of August. I look at my calendar in there, because got to look at, one thing I was thinking about doing, it might coordinate when I try to take all the traps out of there. it'll take me a couple of weeks to take the trip, because I got, there's some region where there's a lot of.
All right, if you could send me that date once you know of it, that would be great. And then I can circulate that with everyone.
And the other thing is there a better day of the week for your group? Like down here, a lot of times I always say Wednesday, because that's the church people. And the other thing, so if there's a better night in there, that would be.
I'd say a Tuesday night is good, just because that's between county meetings, other meetings, but up to everyone.
I'll keep that in mind, Sheila, and
All right.
work on that so I can plan.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Phil, we really appreciate your help.
We go the next one, I know we have some car service there, I was glad to hear that. I'll try and get some of the extension involved. Work with, not the county extension as well. I'll talk to Nate off Purdue.
That'd be great.
See if I can work with them also.
We have another question for you, Phil.
Phil, I've got just one more question. Obviously, the fact that this task force has been formulated, there are many people that are not in this room tonight that are voicing their horrible experiences with this infestation. So something is happening here to exponentially increase our infestation. When you come up in August, or whenever it is your teams start to pull traps and do the counts, I'm not asking you to commit, but is there a possibility that your program would include larger areas of our county for treatment by your program rather than our communities having to find ways to fund it? Is there a possibility of that, or do we need to know we're on our own, or can we keep our fingers crossed? Where are we at?
Pretty much right now, you're on your own. I don't have a program for this with the state.
I knew that.
I just have the slow spread effort there. So
That's why I'm here.
on your own on that.
All right, thanks for your candor.
I don't have the funding to come in and do any of the treatments there. We did this year because it was right on the edge. It was for those that we are deciding to do it, or do we hold off because, it's starting to get closer there. And level is there. Tom Traeger felt that it was still valuable to do it this year, and I guided her because she's still there. And so that gives you, we really, and it could maybe go, a little bit north of that line, depending on where it is, but up where Thale Road is, I cannot use slow the spread.
Thanks, Phil. So, anyone want to volunteer to chair this task force? Diane? Phil? Scott? Randy? Is there anyone that would like to kind of help us organize this? Because right now we have a group of citizens, we've got emails, we've got some people
know.
online.
I'm just writing
So
down all the
some of the questions that have been asked in the chat, we have answered in the course of the conversation. So that's good. But we do want to meet again and then begin to talk about what are our options as a community. There were some questions. Speaking of bees, they were people asking like what can be damaged.
Yeah, I do have some of that information because I know I worked on with some of that with Phil, because that's a big question a lot of people had about the bees.
Or the monarchs.
Bees and animals.
Yeah. It's a natural thing, and that's one of the things that's been conflicting with people, that they're very worried about it. But it is naturally found in your ground, this bacillus, whatever they call it.
Laura has a question. Yeah.
My understanding is this kills all Lepidoptera. What he said that is before the monarch caterpillars is true, but there's many other caterpillars.
But it's found in the ground naturally. It's a natural.
Yes, but not in the levels that are applied to the trees. So it will kill any caterpillars that are out feeding at the time it's applied.
Maybe we could speak to that at the next meeting. Let's talk about that. I think that should be talked about.
Yeah, good.
We should have an expert address that. as
I
opposed to
agree.
us
That's a great
guessing
idea.
or telling
Right.
what we read online.
Right, yeah. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true,
I
as
just
we all
got-
know.
My information just came from him, so
Yeah.
that's where I was telling it.
So we have yes, go ahead.
One of the things is, on the back of my picture there, you can see, that's an egg mass behind me, where my shoulder.
I got better
See it
pictures
well?
than that.
And, okay, every one of those insects there are wasps. Those are egg parasite gypsy moth eggs. They lay an egg for the larvae of the wasp to develop. Holes are where they project. And that picture there is now there's more. There's 10 or 15 of those wasps on that egg mass. Don't control it 100%, but they sure help to do it. And plus the virus and the fungus and fade because of the effort in there. Granted, and I think if I hold the effort, we would have been doing this call probably 15, maybe 20 years earlier.
We have another meeting in here at 6 o'clock, so I just want to be sure that we've, everyone's put their name on. Did you, yes, you did volunteer? Diane?
Yes.
You would like to help chair this?
I'll do it, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else want to join Diane?
He's going to help me.
No, that's what I had a feeling. I thought I heard that conversation going on while I was talking to someone else. Yeah.
He will be on my team.
From me there.
Yeah, we'll all help, but it's always nice to have a spokesperson.
Hey, I'm glad I got my husband to
Yeah,
help me.
exactly,
He'll do what I
exactly.
You're the one that found Phil, you're the one that has researched
Yes,
so much.
yeah,
into it.
she has. She's really, and came forward and said, we need to really do something about
And
this.
I just want to make sure that they know, is there some way we can get message out to people that are watching that we will be addressing these chat questions? So,
Yeah, thank you, Diane.
is there a way to get a copy of those?
Yeah, you
Okay.
should be able to have the transcript of questions.
Okay, yeah, that'd
So
be
we
good.
can, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to
We
help
can make
people
sure.
as much
Well,
as
thank
we
you,
can.
everyone, for coming. This was a
Okay.
good first start. We're not going to wait long, so if he's coming back in a couple weeks, we want to have a meeting with Phil there, and then we can gather our questions.
Yeah.
And we'll build a distribution list.
And a time frame
Right.
for him, because he gets.
So everyone has their email address, name, and address on here?
And one other
Phone numbers?
thought,
Yes, go
possibly
ahead.
at some point, to maybe even have a link off the county site or some central place where people can go for this
That's a
information.
great
So we're
idea.
not just strictly on the email list, because I know other folks are asking me what's going on.
Yeah.
Excellent
So if we
idea.
had
So I can
a link?
we could build a page with all the links that we're getting from Phil and that
Yep.
you might have found.
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
that
Any
you-
notes that are pertinent
Yeah,
from
because
what
why
we're
is
doing.
everyone searching when?
Why,
Yeah, right.
why
They're all
reinvent the
going in
wheel?
different
That's why I wanted to know if that Fort Wayne had done
Excellent
that
idea,
already,
yeah.
because why reinvent the wheel
Yeah,
if
yeah.
somebody had already done this? But it just, there should be some kind of, I mean, we're obviously not, he had kind of alluded to that. They've kept this under cheek because they don't want people asking for money.
I get that. I mean,